Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Soberful podcast. I am delighted to be joined today by Angela Anderson. Hi, Angela.
Hello, Veronica, and hello, everybody out there.
It's good to see you again. Angela is an author, speaker, talk show host, and life coach for mothers. She empowers moms to identify their purpose and live it fully while taking care of their families, not an easy task. And she is the host of the Angela Anderson Show, a talk show that covers various host topics pertaining to mothers who want to pursue their dreams while managing family life. And I had the honor of being on this show. Oh, was it a couple of years ago now, I feel?
Yes, I think it was maybe last year because I just started season 1. I feel, has been a couple of years, right? At least a year and a half or so.
I feel like, sometimes I think like, oh, that was, but then I'm like, oh God, no, that was a long time. Time has gone all weird post-COVID. Yes. When did we meet?
We met in the summer of 2021. That's
so
when we met.
Still and it was COVID-y. Yeah.
Yes, it was still COVID-y, specifically because we met over at where were we? Oh my goodness.
Lake Tahoe. This is such a funny story. So we have to tell how we met, because it's so funny, because we met in Lake Tahoe. Okay, yes. Where I used to live. Yeah.
Okay, so I was visiting my brother with my family and my 2 sons, my husband, and we were this is our first time in Lake Tahoe. My husband specifically wanted to go to the Nevada side because we were in California and we kept driving around. So we parked and we wanted to go and find the beach area. And so as we're walking, we see this entryway and we see all these people going. So we're going and we get to the gate, and the gentleman at the gate was like, sorry, you can't come in this way. We're like, well, why not? You've got to go around. This is just for the residents here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, all right. So, and my husband's like, well, does it cost something? Can we pay? Sorry, it's just for the residents. So your husband overheard the whole thing and he's like, oh, they're with me. And we're looking all around. Right? And I said, Dwayne, find him, make sure you pay him or something. And he's like, nope, follow me in. And so my whole family, right? My husband and 2 kids and my brother followed you in. We met. You and your husband were so friendly, so welcoming, and your 2 sons played with my sons.
Well, that was probably the cunning plan, is that you had 2 boys roughly the same age as our boys, and it's like, oh, entertainment sorted, because I think they went off and played football.
Yeah. So we talked with you for a moment, and then mingled and went around and came back to where you were sitting, and it was beautiful. And I thought, oh my goodness, what a nice couple. And then when we got to talking, because we were there to celebrate our anniversary.
That's right. Yeah.
And then your husband said, hey, have you, because we were in the San Francisco area at the time.
Yeah.
And so your husband said, hey, have you heard of this? You rent a bike and you ride across the Golden Gate Bridge. And we're like, wait, what? Never heard of it. And we actually did that on our anniversary. It was the most beautiful.
It's the best, isn't it?
We still talk about it. Every time I see the Golden Gate Bridge, I think about that experience. And had we not heard from you and your husband, we would not have enjoyed that. So, yeah. And then we just kept in touch on Instagram, I think, every now and then, like a comment here or there.
Yeah.
And then I finally saw what you were doing and I said, wow, would you love to be on my show, please? And impart to other moms just how you are so great at this, having your own business. And look at you laughing. No, you are great. Take it from me and all of your clients and everybody else. But all the things you've accomplished and being a mom. And I just admired that about you. And I just said, please come and share with our audience. And you were so gracious enough to do that. So, yeah.
And then it turns out we then moved across the country. You're in Orlando and you're like, hey, if you're ever in Orlando. And I'm like, well, we're around the corner from Orlando. Like, we're literally around the corner.
Yeah.
And so we were in Orlando this year. And then because we wouldn't have known about, like, okay, we're just going to make the show travel and tourism tips.
I know, right?
Angela and Veronica. We're going to tell you, when you go to San Francisco, you have to do the bike ride over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yep.
When you go to Orlando, you have to go to downtown Disney. Was it?
Yes.
So then you have to see the light show.
They changed the name to Disney Springs. It used to be called
Disney Springs. That's right.
Downtown Disney.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yeah.
there
And we
is.
would never have known about that
We
if you hadn't have told us.
listed, and it's funny because that was the first weekend that they were doing it. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a light. It's not even a light show. It's like a drone.
Joan, it's incredible.
You can't even
Incredible,
just
wasn't it?
you have to
Incredible.
see
And
it.
it's free. It's
Yeah.
free. Okay. Okay, everybody. That's your free tourism. If you're going to Orlando, now you know what to do. If you're going to San Francisco, you know what to do.
There you go.
Okay. So anyway, the reason I wanted to have Angela on is Angela. So we've been talking, and you just had some really interesting things to say about balance. And I was like, ooh, that's something I talk about a lot with the 5 pillars of sobriety. The 5 pillars of sobriety are movement, connection, balance, process, and growth. And balance is something we have to work on, and it's really hard. And, the whole thing, because we're similar age and, full-time careers and husbands, and our children are still relatively young. We're not, we had both had our children sort of a bit later, didn't we? And so like a lot of my friends have grandkids. I'm
Yes,
still like,
me
we're still
too.
in it, right? And we're still in elementary school and aging and all the things. So talk to me about balance, because you think it's impossible, but you have a different approach to it, and that's what I wanted everyone to hear, is your different approach to it.
I do. And, and my purpose is not to blow up anybody's, program and, the whole notion of balance. But can I start first by saying, how I was introduced to balance? I have a human
Yes.
resources background.
Right.
And in HR, that's our thing. We have to consider employee wellness and how they can come in and be the happy worker, so to speak, and how they can manage well and still be productive. And so we were always, and I'm going to say fed, this work-life balance, just find balance and everything will be fine. You have to make sure that everything is in order and make sure that you are spending enough time in every area of your life. And that way, everything will be fine. You'll be at peace and all will be well. And, back then, I don't know that I dismissed the notion. I was honestly trying to find balance, and I would do everything that I was told, and I would teach the same thing. And I'll tell you what, Veronica, it wasn't until I became a mom when I realized this balance thing, it's not working. It's not working and it's not practical,
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people still say the word balance in passing. I personally have removed it from my vocabulary. I really have. And let me just tell you first, by definition, right? Balance is the even distribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright or steady.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The even distribution of weight so I can remain steady and upright as a human being, as a mom, all the roles that we play, professional, business, people who have side hustles, if you have a spouse, incorporating all of your kids' programs, everything. How could you possibly have an even distribution? Who has ever raised their hand and said, I feel balanced today? It says no person ever, right? It says no person ever. And so someone might be listening to this and saying, oh, well, they don't really mean balance. Yeah, then why are we saying it? It's the fact of the matter is, because it's in our minds that we have to find this balance, and the fact that we can't, it leads to the feeling of failure at the end of the day. I was sitting there making my task lists. Maybe it's an organizational error. Maybe I'm just not organized. Maybe it's time management. Maybe, I'm going down the line trying to figure out, well, what's wrong with me? And then when you come to find out, if you just ask anyone, my target audience are moms, but this applies to everyone, everyone who has multiple roles. And so to me, a more practical approach would be blend blending the domains of your life. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. There's this smoothie shop down the road that I like to go to. My husband and I like to go there, and I'm sure everyone understands what a smoothie is and how it's created, right? And within that that shop, and I'm sure it's not just the one shop, everyone can identify with this. And if you can't, go into a smoothie shop and you'll know what I'm talking about. So
I love smoothies, by the way. They're literally my favorite thing. Chocolate,
yes,
protein, and peanut butter. I could live off it.
there you go. And you even make them at home too. So it's like we went into this shop and they have options. They have a prefix menu where it's already made for you. This is what we're going to put in it. And then they have another option where you create your own. I always go for the create your own. At that point, my husband, I think he chose number 3 on the menu, whatever you want. So at that, on that day, okay, so I want some bananas, I want pineapple, I want blueberries, I want some spinach. I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually good. Put some honey in there, chia seeds, blend it all together, almond milk.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me, okay? And the next day or the next week, however often you go, it might be something different. I might not want any pineapples in there. I might not want any chia seeds in there. The point is, I found the blend that worked for me because maybe my mood is different. Maybe what's going on in my life is different, right? And I'm not comparing myself with the person in front of me in line or the one behind me, right? Because their blend is going to look a little bit different as well, because everyone is different. Everyone's life is completely different, and there's circumstances are as well. So think about it this way. When I blend the domains of my life, here's an example. I came home one day and it was kind of late. I just picked up both my sons from school, or it might have been an activity that they had, but it was late. I knew I had to make dinner, and it was, when you're getting there, it's like, all right, they got to eat, they've got to get ready for bed, do whatever they need to do, etc. So you're just thinking what to do next. Well, my youngest son at the time, and he said, "Mommy, can you play with me? Can you do this with me?" And it really tugs at my heart, on my heartstrings, when your kids ask you to do something and you really can't. You just can't at the moment. And you start thinking in your mind, it's like, oh, if I didn't have to do all these things, then I could spend more time with my kids. You just start sometimes beating yourself up. But it's like, let me think here. I know that he likes to cook with me in the kitchen. And so I said, hey, how about we spend some time together over here? Do you want to cook dinner with me? And he was like, oh, yes. He just lit up. Yes, Mommy, I would love to. I said, okay, go wash your hands, And then my oldest son saw what was happening. He's like, I want to cook too. Go wash your hands. Come on, let's go. Right. And so we just started constructing their favorite meal. And one is measuring, one's stirring, one is pouring. And, and I just incorporated them into the whole process. And it's a win-win. We're not playing, so to speak, but we're still spending time together. And guess what else? We're getting stuff done because I know I needed to make dinner. So they were involved.
We need to get stuff done. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So that's an example of blending. But guess what else? Sometimes the blend is going to be, I'm going to the smoothie shop and I just want a banana smoothie, 100% banana. So sometimes the blend is going to be, guess what, guys? I need to get this done. Maybe not cooking, but maybe it's a project for work. Maybe it's something I'm doing in my business and I have a deadline. Guys, go find something to do. Just go to your room, play with your toys. I need quiet and I need to do this. So maybe it's 100% my business at that point. Maybe it's 100% as I flip the lid down on my laptop and put it away. Maybe it's 100% my family. Or maybe it's 100%, okay, my husband and I just went on a date night this past Saturday night, so it varies. There are times when we might be at a sporting event and, there's downtime. as you're sitting on the sidelines. And if you have your laptop, you can do something right there. If you have your phone, you could be doing something right there. And, I almost feel like we're doing it already. People are doing this already, but it's our mindset that needs to follow. I feel like we need a paradigm shift. What were you going to say?
What you're describing feels different to multitasking.
Yes.
Because in some ways it's multitasking, but it's not. It's different. Does that make sense?
Yes. Multitasking and just the sound of it makes me feel flustered. It makes me feel flustered. It makes me feel like I'm all over the place. It makes me feel like I have loose ends and things that are just not going to get done on time or in an orderly fashion, But when you think of it as, okay, we're going to make this work. We're going to blend. We're going to figure this out. And it's not so much I'm balancing. It's just that I am finding out how to get all of my tasks completed, right? While not neglecting my family, right? But doing it in a way that it works for everyone, And, I started to talk about mindset because that's what's important. When you have it in your mind that, oh my goodness, I have to balance everything. I didn't balance today. And you feel defeated at the end of the day. But how about you don't tell yourself that you have to balance because you don't, and you're not going to. How about you tell yourself, I'm going to blend the domains of my life and I'm going to figure out how to do this so that it gets done. Almost like the acronym SMART goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think balance fits into that. Think of it SMART, specific, what is it?
Measurable,
attainable,
realistic,
and time bound.
timely.
I think.
Yeah.
Right. Balance doesn't fit into any of that. Balance is not specific. It's not measurable. You can't attain it. And so that's my whole dilemma with the word balance. Like, why are we even using that if we know that it's not attainable? If we know that it doesn't exist, why not change your mindset so that your actions will follow? When we talk about self-care, right? That's the buzzword nowadays. In order to care for yourself, you have to really think about it from a mental health standpoint. What type of pressure am I putting on myself? Unrealistic pressure am I putting on myself that really doesn't need to be that way?
So it's interesting because when I think about balance, I think of it as like a plate that you're holding and you're kind of having to, and we're both saying the same thing, because what we're both saying is it's about responding to your needs.
Yes, exactly.
Because we can get too stuck in the just checking the boxes and achieving all the things.
Right.
That isn't balance, because like you maybe get all the tasks done, but you're exhausted or you haven't spent time with your kids or whatever.
Right.
Like some days you just need a pure banana smoothie with nothing else blended into it. And that might be just a day of like not checking any emails, being with your kids or resting or whatever it is.
Right.
And that's great, but I couldn't do that 5 days a week. Like I couldn't be on the sun lounger 5 days a week because my whole life would go, right? So it's like this kind of I call it the art of balance, because it's always something that has to be practiced. And it is kind of, it's about knowing like this segment is really depleted and I need to put some, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about the evenly balanced, because I agree. And that's what I teach my clients is you can't, like this week, you might have a massive work project and so you don't really get to exercise much, and perhaps you're ordering takeout pizza and that's fine in the short term. It's not sustainable long term. But next week, maybe that project's done, you have a lot more time and you're making fresh food and you're able to go bike riding with your kids. It's about it's not going to be evenly divided into each little segment, but it's understanding that at different times, different segments need more and different segments need less.
Yes.
and not letting those things go on too long, right? Like
Mhm.
then we would really get. So you're having this. This is why I wanted to get you on. You're having an. It's a different way of looking at it, and I like the idea of the blending.
Yes, definitely. I think we would definitely have to agree. As you said, it's not even, but it's thinking, you know what? I didn't spend enough time doing this today. And usually when I say that, when I'm doing the introspective retrospect and I'm sitting, by myself and thinking about my needs, right? It's usually I didn't take care of myself well today. Like, how can I fix that tomorrow? Or how can I fix that later? Whether it's getting up a little bit earlier, in the morning and having alone time, me time, where I'm not just planning my day, but taking a moment. Just a few months ago, I've incorporated deep breathing. I don't want to get off topic too much, but deep breathing in my morning routine. And let me tell you, that helps so much, not just with, I don't want to say like stress level, but it almost brings you to a place of calm. I can't really describe it. It's like
Mm.
you are. I don't know if you've ever tried it either, but there's an app. There's an app for everything nowadays, right?
There is.
If there's an app, I think it's just called Breathe, and it just tells you there's a nice voice. Inhale, hold, exhale, and it does it, several times. And at the end, it's like your mind can still be wandering, your mind can still be on certain things, but at the end of it, it's like, okay, now I'm going to go on with my, routine, morning routine, whatever that might be. Um, for me, it's gratitude, finding things of gratitude, and part of this is in the whole. And again, I almost said the word balance, right? Part of it is in the whole the realm of keeping yourself centered, right? Um, the breathing, the
Keeping yourself centered.
yeah,
Even like I like that. Like you can have different segments, right? There's all
yes,
this stuff going on around you,
mhm,
but trying to keep yourself centered.
yes.
So you can be more aware of your needs.
Exactly. Right. And that's the key, I think. It doesn't matter what's going on around you, as they say,
Mhm.
it's how you respond to it. And if you're going
Mhm.
crazy with all the stuff going around, then you're just spinning in circles as well.
Mm.
But if you keep yourself centered, keep yourself grounded, then you'll be better equipped to handle whatever that is.
Mm.
As you were talking about sobriety, I think like that whole what is necessary in order to achieve that.
Mm.
Speaking to my moms, it's like, okay, what do you may not know what you need to achieve your goals, but one of the things you do need is you need to be whole. You need to have your wits about you when the
Mm.
whole world around you is crazy. And quite frankly, as soon as I walk out that door, when I have my me time in the morning, anything goes. Got to get the
Mm.
kids ready for school, and this is happening, and the things that you don't expect happen. And
Mm.
you've got to get your own goals in order and your own life in order.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a lot, isn't it? I mean, I do think. Do you think things are different for men and women and being a mom?
When you say that, it's funny because I'm thinking about my husband right now, and it can be different because I think men and women process things differently. You know, um, I'm thinking about things that my husband is not, that doesn't even enter his brain. you know, it could be, and I'm not saying that he's not a caring spouse, and I'm not saying well, he doesn't care about the kids. No, he's a great dad and he's a great
Mhm.
husband.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's focused on, okay, well, this is my task at hand. And I'll say, oh, did you remember to, I don't know, sign that paper and put it in his book
Mhm.
bag, you know? Well, it wasn't top of mind. Um,
Mm.
and so it may or may not be done. And the reason I'm saying this is that I feel as though, and I don't think I'm special, I'm thinking of every detail that needs to be done and accomplished in that this particular time. And
Mm,
this morning, this has to be done. All of these things. Lunch has to be packed.
mm,
My kids eat hot lunch, and so I do it in the morning. Some people do it the night before, and they like when I prepare their lunch. So we've got that. We've got breakfast. Then my husband and I, we tag team. He takes them and makes sure their clothes and everything are done. So it's a team effort to get them out the door. But speaking of between a man and a woman, I think that men also struggle with finding balance. And the thing is, I'm not a man, so I can't speak for a man, but
mm,
I do think that there could be a struggle for finding balance. And I think this
mm,
information would be helpful to
mm,
um, men as well as women. You know,
mm,
they might be thinking of the big picture.
mm.
What will this household look like in 5, 10 years? And it could get overwhelming
Mm.
if things are not lining up. But again, they have to balance as well.
I think mothers are like my husband's a stay-at-home dad now, so he has taken a lot of this. Like he's on top of a lot more of the appointments and who's going where and all that kind of stuff. But before that, it was like I felt like I administered four people's lives. Like
Mhm.
the administration of a human life is a lot, right? And when you do it for four people, like I do, my husband, my kids, all the things that have to be administered and signed and paid for and it's submitted and
Right.
and the logins that have to be created
Yes.
and the passwords and the um it I wonder there's definitely men's brains and women's brains are different. I was listening to something the other day about women's brains tend to be naturally more empathetic, and
Hmm.
it's not that men aren't empathetic, but they have a more kind of, I don't know, it's more about task orientated and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff and
Getting it done. Like,
getting it done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like seeing the, how do you say, like not the, that saying, the end, the means and the end. It's like they just, okay, let's just get it done, you know, and not
Yeah.
so much where I'm concerned with how are we getting this done.
Yeah.
But, still, like you said, and I never thought of it that way, like the administration of lives. When you say it that way, I chuckle because that's exactly right, you know? And each,
I want AI to solve that. Like the just
please.
being a human being and
Yeah.
the amount of paperwork that requires and
Right.
logins I have to create. Like I
Right.
remember just like during COVID and tests, I created 4 individual logins so everybody could
Yeah.
test to get checked so I could check.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
if AI could run my life,
If-
so these things just happened,
I-
that would make everything so much better. I don't want AI, so I don't know why we're going into AI, but I don't want AI to paint pictures. I want AI to make my life easier by filling out the
Right.
forms.
The way things are going, I guarantee by like next year, they'll be like, and you have just for moms, for busy moms. Here you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
to kind of wrap up what you're saying, it's not, don't worry about balancing everything perfectly. It's about blending what you need each
Yes.
day or any given moment. And that's about being kind of aware of what your needs are and how they change. And that's such an important part to it, isn't it? Being plugged into what your needs are, what's a priority, the demands on your time, the needs of others.
Right.
Like that just is in constant flux.
Exactly. And I think that, as you said, awareness is huge. You have to be aware. And if that means taking more time out for you, not just at the beginning of the day, but maybe in the middle of the day, and ask yourself a few questions, even if it's like, how am I feeling right now? And then get to the bottom of that feeling. A lot of us don't take the time to do that, though, Veronica. We don't really take a needs assessment on ourselves. We either find that
Yeah.
it's maybe silly or not necessarily, not necessary, we just keep going,
Mm.
like we're machines or something. And that's
Mm.
how machines break down,
Yes.
you know? And so being aware of your needs, I think is key. And
Mm.
then from there, figuring out how that fits into the needs of the other lives that we're administrating, right? So, and and you never know. Like the other day, my son came home upset about something. That's a need right there. You know,
Mm.
we could ignore it and say, "Oh, we'll just take care of that some other time," or take
Mm.
some time out and say, "Hey, what's going on? You want to talk
Mm.
about it?
Mm. Mm.
Did you have a rough day at school? Did you, do well on your test today?" That type of thing.
Mm.
And again, that's a needs assessment because that might need attention right away.
Mm.
And that could also have be very impactful
Mm.
for your child to know that
Mm.
you took time to care about that specific thing, you know?
Mm. Yeah, it's all of this is so helpful in because I mean, I get what you're saying about balance.
Yeah,
It's just having the right perspective of balance is that
perspective.
understand you're not going to
Mhm.
have a perfect like segmentation,
Right,
but there's ways that we can respond to our needs and work on it and all of that kind of stuff.
right.
And our circumstances are going to change. Our kids are going to grow up, we're going to age. Our circumstances are constantly in
I
flux
agree.
and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, and I just had that conversation with a friend of mine. I was starting to feel, I don't want to say stagnant, but I was just like, something needs to give. And
Mm.
she said to me, she's like, your life, think about it, the days of COVID and a little bit after that, our kids were at a different age. And so their needs were different. My
Mm.
youngest was like age 2, you know,
Mm.
the time or the time that's needed for a 2-year-old is completely different than
Mm.
a 6-year-old. And
Mm.
so because that changed, then that changed for me as well,
Mm.
like
Mm.
how I'm going to divide my time, or how I'm
Mm.
going to spend my time or my day or my schedule. And that just goes for everyone's life. As you
Mm.
said, assess your needs, change your perspective.
Yeah.
um,
Shifting mindset is just so helpful.
It is so helpful because
Yeah.
that is what drives how we feel, how we
Mm-hmm.
behave, how
Mm-hmm.
we respond to the things
Mm-hmm.
around us, and how we go forward with accomplishing our goals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stop putting that pressure on yourself to balance everything in your life. The more
And blend.
practical, blend. That's my word. I'm sticking to it. Blend. I've used it. I've done it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It really makes sense because it's be aware of what you want to blend into your day, and no, you could blend those things and you could get a curveball, and
Yes.
just be aware of the curveball. So
Right. Blend it in there.
yeah, yeah. And Angela, it's been lovely to speak to you. Can
Oh,
you tell me where can people find you?
oh, sure. So the Angela Anderson Show, if you want to hear more topics such as this blending idea and balancing, the Angela Anderson Show is on YouTube, and it airs every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you prefer the audio version, I'm on Spotify as well. And I'm working on season 2. So that's coming up. But you can also find me on Facebook, Angela Anderson, and I also stream the show on my Facebook profile. I'm also on Instagram, and you could find me at Angela Anderson 1104. So definitely check me out. The cleanest way, YouTube.
And you also, it's on my bookshelf. You contributed to a book that was out that you. This is such a mom thing, right? I bought it because I always buy my friends' books because I want to leave a review on Amazon because those things help. I took it with me to dinner when we had dinner.
Yes.
Of course, we forgot about that. You didn't sign it, and then you mailed me a copy that was signed. I can't tell you how many times I've done things like that. I'm like, I remembered the thing. I have a British friend, and I brought some British chocolate for her, and I forgot to give it to her once, and then I took it the second time and it was in my bag, and then and I brought it home, and then it got eaten, right?
Yes,
what was the book that you contributed to?
So it's called The Ultimate Guide to Entrepreneurship and Motherhood. And it's just 6 of us moms, mompreneurs, got together and we talked about, a matter of fact, I mentioned balance in there in my chapter, in chapter 2. And we just got together and wrote the blueprint. And I say that loosely because, we just talked about how you have to find the blend that works for you.
Yeah.
But we gave some practical examples of how to run your business and still take care of your family and still take care of your life, whether you have a spouse or not. But again, it's just navigating all these different roles all in one. So that book is still available. And I can provide a link if you inbox me.
Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes. It's on Amazon, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one is not on Amazon. That one is like a specific landing page for that.
Okay.
My book is on Amazon, but yes.
Cool. Well, Angela, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a really interesting take, and I think hopefully helpful to my audience. And thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Veronica. This has been great. And like you said, I hope this is helpful to anyone who's out there listening.
Yeah. And thank you so much, everyone. I will be back next week. Please let me know what you think about the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. And I'll see you guys soon.